All right, this is the review for Algebra 1, Review 2A. On this one, we start with number 11, and it says we have to write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So I have written down what that is, y equals mx plus b. Remember that m stands for the slope, which is your rise over the run, and b is your y-intercept. With this particular problem, we've got a picture of a line, so we can use the 2 points to figure out what the slope is. What I did was I just went from the leftmost point to the rightmost point, and I did that by going up 1 and to the right 3. So my rise was 1, my run is 3. So that's what m is, and that's part of my final answer. In terms of the y-intercept, it's where on the y-axis is the point is the line touching the y-axis. So it is at 2. So b is equal to 2, you just plug it in. During the video, of course, I'm not going to pause, so go ahead and pause if you need to do so. Number 12. Once again, we're going to do something with slope-intercept form, and the reason is we need to figure out what the slope is of this equation. So it says, what is the slope of a line that's parallel to that line? Well, you have to remember this, that all parallel lines have the same slope. So if we figure out the slope of this line, we have the slope of every line that it's parallel to. So I took the original equation, subtracted 2x from both sides. That's my line right here. And then I divided by 5. That got y by itself, and now it is in slope-intercept form. Now this whole thing, this equation, is not my answer because it asked for the slope. So I just highlighted the coefficient of the x. So that is my slope. It's down 2 and to the right 5. So I wrote it right over here on the right. We got to skip number 13, so we're going to go right to number 14. Now this one, it says we have to write a scenario, which means kind of like a story, that could be represented by the following scatter plot. Now notice I did draw another one, but let's focus on the one they gave us first. So this one is going up from left to right. So what I came up with was this idea about drinks and temperature. So the x-axis became temperature, the y-axis is the number of cold drinks sold. So my story was, as the temperature rises, sales of cold drinks goes up. I also wrote the words positive correlation, because that's what it's called. If both things are going up, it's called a positive correlation. In red, right underneath it, I did an example of a negative correlation. So as temperatures are going up, and I didn't have room to write this, I was thinking something warm like hot chocolate, that would go down, because people tend to not want hot chocolate if it's really hot. Okay? Now another option is if there's dots all over the place, that would be an example of something not having a correlation. In other words, the two things would have no connection between them. Okay, but I don't have an example of that one. Moving on to number 15. On this one, we had to circle the arithmetic sequences, and notice I did circle 3 of them. So first off, an arithmetic sequence is a list of numbers that are separated by the same amount, and we call that a common difference. Now that amount means we're adding or subtracting the same amount every step of the way. So you can see that happening on the first one, where we're adding 3 on each step. On the third one, we're subtracting 5. And even on that last one, we are adding 1/3. And it's a little bit of a tricky one, so I wrote the middle term as 3 over 3 instead of reducing it or simplifying it to just a 1. Now the second one, you might be thinking, well, wasn't that a pattern? And it is. We are multiplying by 2. It's just that's not arithmetic. We call that geometric, if you divide or multiply by the same number all the way across. All right, 16 was one that we could skip, so the next one to do is 17, and it's another arithmetic sequence problem. So it says they're going to give us the first 4 terms of a sequence, and we have to find the 18th term. So I went ahead and gave you the formula for it. You can see it on your screen. And then I wrote down what all these things are. So a with a little n, that is the number that you're looking for. That's going to be your answer. A with a little 1, that is your first term. The n itself is the position that you're looking for. So I'm looking for the 18th position. And then D is that common difference. So by looking at the numbers, I can tell what A sub 1 is because it's the first term. It's a 2. And then the common difference is 3. The other number I needed was N, and I found that when I highlighted right there, I'm trying to find the 18th term. So that's the position in the list that I'm looking for. So I plugged in the numbers, and remember to follow the order of operations, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So first, subtract the 1 from the 18, then multiply 17 times 3 to get 51, and finally you can add 2 to get your answer of 53. 2 more to do. Number 18. So it says some ordered pairs for a linear function of x are given in this table. Write an equation in slope-intercept form that could be used to generate or make this table. To put that another way, they have a line, and this table represents 4 points that are on that line. I know they're points because they have an x and a y, and that's what an ordered pair is. So -5, -13, for example, is one of those points. The first thing I did was I figured out what the slope was going to be, because that's going to be my m. So I noticed that the x's were going up by 4 every step along the way, and the y's were going up by 12. And since y is really controlling up and down, that's going to be my rise, and the x controls left and right, so that's my run. So 12 over 4 reduced to a 3. So that gave me the 3 part of the answer. But we still had to figure out what the b was. So here's where you just kind of have to trust that you can choose any of these 4 points. Just make sure if you choose -5, you choose -13. It has to be 2 that go together. So choose any point. I chose 7, 23, and then we're going to plug in the 7 and the 23 into y equals mx plus b. We're also going to plug in the slope, because we already figured out that was a 3. So 3 times 7 is 21. Subtract that 21 from the other side, and we have our b. So I plugged it in. So my slope was 3, my y-intercept is 2. That's the equation for the line that has all of those points. All right, we have one more to do, and this is number 19. I say one more because we don't have to do number 20. So number 19 is a word problem. It's called a system of equations, and this is one where some students might just go ahead and say, well, if it's 12 coins and I know they're nickels and dimes, I'm just going to say, what if they're all 12 are dimes? Maybe that's the right answer. So you could say, well, 12 dimes is $1.20. That's too much because it's supposed to be 85 cents. So then you could check each combination along the way. So you could say, how about 11 dimes and 1 nickel? Well, that'd be $1.15. Okay, so you could eventually get the right answer of 85. But I did it using a system of equations. And this is what you have to do in algebra if you want to find 2 different variables. You need to write 2 equations. So the first thing is, I know that there are 12 coins, and they're made up of the number of nickels plus the number of dimes. That's equal to 12. I also know that nickels are worth 5 cents, dimes are worth 10 cents, and I have a total of 85 cents. So I know this is my system of equations. This is the symbol that we put in for that. Now, it is asking us for the number of dimes. So I basically want n to go away. So what I did was this first equation on the right, I solved it for n. So I subtracted d from both sides. So what this means is the number of nickels is equal to 12 minus the number of dimes. So hopefully that makes sense to you. And then I highlighted the n and the n because I'm substituting in or replacing it with 12 minus d. Then I distributed the 5 to get my next line. And notice I now have some like terms. Negative 5d and 10d make positive 5d. Then I subtracted 60 from both sides to get 5d is 25. Divide by 5, and you get 5 dimes. Now, if you want to check to make sure everything's okay, I know that 5 dimes would be 10 cents each, so that's 50 cents. And then there's 12 coins, so there has to be 7 nickels. They're each 5 cents each, that's 35 cents. The total is 85, and that's what it was supposed to be, 85 cents.